Am I the a-hole for pointing out to my parents that I have more money than they do when they threaten to cut me out of their will if I don't help my brother? My parents love my brother and see nothing wrong with anything he does. He has stolen from family. They paid it back. He physically abused me when we were kids. That's just how brothers are. You get the idea. I was praised for taking it like a man and for my school marks. My brother has recently knocked up his current girlfriend. She won't get rid of it like she should. She is going to handcuff herself to the dead hooker that is my brother's life for the next 18 years. My parents asked me to help him out. I sent him pamphlets from Planned Parenthood, and they were not amused. They told me to stop trying to get rid of their first grandchild and step up to help him with money or a place to stay. They can't let him stay with them because they live in a 55-plus community with a vicious HOA. I said that I didn't get an extra from Hillbilly Elegy pregnant, and he was not getting help from me. They said they would cut me out of their will. I laughed and pointed out that I do their taxes, and I knew I already had more money than the three of them put together. I said they were welcome to give my half of their stuff to my brother to help him. They said they knew I had money, and that's why they asked. They said it would hurt their retirement to give him their money now. I wish I had said tough shit, but I didn't. I just said that he needed to get a regular job and pay for things like an adult. I said that he should buy some Plan B, since this was the third woman he had impregnated, just the first one stupid enough to want to add his DNA to the gene pool. My extended family keeps trying to get me to help. I offer to match whatever they give my brother, and they never seem willing after that offer. But they do think I'm an a-hole for putting my money over my brother and his growing family. My parents say the same thing, but also call me insensitive for pointing out that they can't afford to help him. I told them to unretire and give him their salaries. They didn't like that suggestion either. Now for the top comments. Help your brother by booking him in for a vasectomy. I'd pay for that. Great idea. I'll offer. I offer to match whatever they give my brother. Brilliant. It calls their bluff instantly. If they really believed in helping, they'd put up their own cash, but they just want him funded as their golden child. In this situation, it doesn't look like help. It's more like permanent support of an adult person. Since you're not mentioning that your brother is disabled or that you ever took on any obligation to support him and his children, you owe him nothing. Adult people are meant to support themselves and their families, not the a-hole. He once got a ticket for parking across 3 handicap spots. I think that sort of qualifies him as mentally disabled. My parents paid it. I told my own parents I would not take on their financially enabled adult daughter when they died because I nearly killed myself my whole life supporting myself while she lay in bed and they gave her everything she wanted. In response, they took part of my inheritance to help her survive longer on her own. She was a hoarder. She lived in filth. It was a brand new house when they moved in. She destroyed all the rooms she lived in. It's going to take a large chunk of change to get the house ready to sell. I'm fine financially. I don't need the tiny inheritance. It's the disrespect from my parents that hurts, rewarding laziness and punishing the hardworking and motivated. I would not trade my life for my sisters. I feel sorry for the whole lot of them. I'm proud of myself and my life. You can't control others. Protect your peace. Make your own decisions that you can live with. Your brother is the result of your parents' decisions, not yours. I was in a very similar situation with my family. I was the oldest and only successful child. My sister was a leech who messed her life up repeatedly and continuously, refusing to be an adult. She wasted 2 decades of adult life, either in jail for DUIs or lying on her parents' couch all day, whining about how awful her life was. The stress of all this killed my stepdad, her bio dad, at 60. My mom didn't last much longer. Continually stressed, a lifelong heavy smoker and alcoholic, who was actually a very successful healthcare executive until the day she died. A few years before the end, my mom let me know that I was going to be her executor and that she expected me to care for my sister. I told her that was never going to happen, so don't bother. After I became executor, I learned that her will directed me to take care of my sister in the manner she is accustomed to. I worked with an estate lawyer to make sure my sister's free ride was over, to the point that she tried to sue me for not giving her the family home. which my mother had directed to be sold, with the proceeds divided. My brother and I set her up in a dump of a low-cost apartment and put her share in a disability trust my mother conned her way into. The trust was hesitant to take the account, since even they felt she was more of a leech than a disabled person. Once my obligations as executor were legally completed, I never spoke another word to her. She continued the lifelong family legacy as an alcoholic and heavy smoker and died at 50. It's an ugly story, but not one I was going to enable for a second once both of her parents were gone. Like you said, you have to protect your peace. In my case, that meant keeping my own family out of that dysfunctional mess. Next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my brother, his girlfriend, and my nephew live in my parents' apartment in my house? My parents live with me, not the other way around. I own a large house with an in-law suite in the basement. A few years ago, my parents retired, and I let them move into the suite in the basement. There are no stairs for them because my home is built on a slope, so they can walk out. There are also windows that face the pond behind my house. It isn't a dank little hole or anything. It also has 2 bedrooms since they sleep separately due to my dad's snoring. I have the upstairs to myself. They do not have access except when we eat together a few times a week. I work from home and see clients privately. For that reason, my level of the house is very secure, and my office even more so. I have my bedroom, my space for seeing clients, my office, and a spare room on my level. My brother lost his job in November and had enough savings to last him until early January. He is somewhat irresponsible. He has an education. He just feels like it should have guaranteed him a better position in life without actually having to work for it. His girlfriend is on maternity leave with their first child, besides my brother. My parents told them that they should come stay with us since we have room. We don't. I do. They showed up by surprise with a U-Haul full of their stuff. I wasn't home. They unloaded it into my garage. When I got home, I discovered all of this. I was a little upset, but I dealt with it. I called a moving company and a local self-storage place. Everything got moved out of my garage. While that was happening, I had a talk with my family. I asked what was going on and got the full story. We sat in the dining room in my area. I gave my brother and his girlfriend a tour of my area of the home since they had never been here before. My client's area freaked them out. Afterward, I ushered everyone downstairs and said goodnight. They all looked confused. I said that I hadn't invited them to stay with me and that they were guests of my parents. I told them that they could stay as long as they wanted and not to come upstairs without permission. They can't anyway, as both my front door and my door from the basement are dead-bolted for security and privacy. My parents said that they thought I would clear out my office so that my brother could have 2 rooms. I asked why they thought that, since they hadn't asked me about it. They had no reply. It's been a few weeks now, and they are still working out the kinks, LOL. Sorry, dumb pun. My parents like having their grandchild around, but my dad has problems with the breastfeeding. My mom and dad are sharing a room and not enjoying sleeping in the same bed. It's a little chaotic, but not my problem. They keep hinting that maybe my mom or dad could move upstairs. I reminded them that my clients expect privacy and discretion. It isn't an option. The other issue has been parking. One spot in my garage is reserved for clients. Many do not want their cars spotted at my house, so they don't want to park in the driveway or on the street. One client uses a car share service just for visits with me. Anyway, that's the full story. I know I'm not in the wrong, but my family thinks I am. I'm posting this for judgment today so that they can read outside opinions. Feel free to ask questions. I will probably answer until this afternoon. Your parents can get twin beds. I think they are shopping for some. Dad might need a CPAP machine. Has he looked into sleep apnea as a cause of snoring? He has the machine. He won't use it. Your mom and dad should be warned that untreated sleep apnea has been linked to dementia and Alzheimer's. The lack of oxygen and restful sleep affects the brain, especially over an extended period of time. They know all that. My dad is a retired iron worker. Do you think he listens to anyone? Not the a-hole. Your parents don't get to invite people to stay in your home. They can deal with the BS. Thanks. They do get to invite people to stay with them, though. I made sure they knew the guest suite was fully theirs. I'd be more upset that your parents fully expected you to give your brother and his family 2 whole rooms. They literally offered up your home to people who would never move out if they got comfortable. Good for you for setting boundaries, not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my brother to use his son's, my nephew's money for bills and groceries? I, 42 female, made an account for my 4-year-old nephew to put money aside for him for extra things, like toys and whatnot. Up until the day before yesterday, I kept the card with me because I don't trust my 25-year-old brother with it. He and his 24-year-old wife are very bad with money. Between my sister, 35, my dad, 70, not my brother's dad, and myself, we've lent him $3,000 to $4,000 that he has yet to pay back. The day before yesterday, he wanted to take my nephew to an event and wanted to use the money to help get him things from the event. I agreed, with the understanding that they needed to return the card to me. Then yesterday, he called me saying the card wasn't working and said my nephew wanted a toy. I then informed my brother that the card had a spending limit set. He wasn't happy and then proceeded to tell me that without it, he would not be able to get groceries. I told him that was not the purpose of that money, that it was his son's money. They seem to think that since I've given my nephew money and they are his parents, they are entitled to decide what to do with it. His mother, my sister-in-law, told me to cancel the account and said that I was teaching him the wrong things. It's as if they think that if they can't have access to the money, then their son can't have it at all. Am I wrong for wanting my nephew to keep the money I give him for himself? Edit. My brother and sister-in-law's argument is that, since it benefits him, his money should go toward bills and groceries. I just feel that if I let them cross that line, they will take everything I give. They both have good jobs. I've tried helping them budget, but they always seem to need money, and I don't know where their money even goes. Not the a-hole, but take away their ability to use the money. I did. I blocked the card. Maybe you want to set aside some funds for your nephew's college, if you're interested, because I don't see his parents as the type to plan for that. Not the a-hole. Unfortunately, I don't have enough to save for his college. I get roughly $900 or so a month, and I'm currently adding $6 a week to his account. That's all I can spare at the moment. So unless my income increases significantly and or prices come down, I'll have to stick with that for now. And in 13 years, he turns 5 this year. At $6 a week, that's only around $4,000 saved. So if they have their way, a literal child is contributing more to the household finances than 2 grown adults? Pathetic. I have a savings account and trust for my nephew because my sister is sadly just as much of a parasite as your brother. Everyone knows to send any birthday or Christmas money to me instead of his parents. Then, when my nephew visits, we'll sit and go through toy catalogs or websites to see if there's anything he'd like. Prioritize building trust with your nephew over giving him things. Or give him literal limited coin change. That's easier for a kid to guard, like a tiny dragon. When he's older, it'll be a huge comfort to know that at least one relative isn't bleeding him dry for existing. Not the a-hole. When he's old enough to understand, I'll explain the account to him and let him know that if he wants anything, he can tell me and I can give him access. Hopefully, I can also teach him how to manage his money so he doesn't fall into the same habits as his parents. Last story. Am I the a-hole for doing nothing about my siblings' bad behavior since my parents make me responsible for everything my siblings do? I, 16 male, have 3 younger siblings, 14, 11, and 9. My parents say that being the oldest comes with the responsibility of making sure my siblings behave, and that I should take it seriously as their big brother. What that means is that, when my siblings do something wrong, my parents blame and punish me for it. It has always been like that. They would tell me to watch my siblings while they did stuff around the house, and if my siblings did something they weren't supposed to do and I told my parents, I would be punished. Or if we went somewhere and my siblings were acting out, I would be asked why I didn't stop them. My parents love to yell at me when my siblings do something they're not supposed to. It made me start saying no whenever they asked me to watch my siblings. That would start fights between me and my parents. It made me dislike my siblings eventually, because they knew our parents would be mad at me and not them. so they do things knowing they would mostly get away with it, or that I'd be punished worse for it. My 14-year-old sister is the worst about this. She'll sneak out of her room past her bedtime, or watch TV when we're not allowed to have it on, because she knows I'll be blamed. My parents always dismiss how it makes me feel. They told me that I don't get to decide what parts of older sibling life I experience. They said that as the oldest, they have high expectations for me and how I participate in our family, and that being a good role model and guide for my siblings is one of them, and that it means stopping them from making bad choices. I was told I don't get to say I won't watch my siblings, and it's not a choice to help or not. I do what I'm told to do. I hate my parents for making me responsible for my siblings' behavior. My dad is the worst for dismissing me. His go-to argument is that I'm almost a man, and men don't whine and complain about tough situations. My mom yells at me the most, though. I don't think there has been a day since I was 7 where she hasn't yelled at me for something. All 3 of my siblings have pretty bad behavior now, and I just don't do anything. It drives my parents crazy, but I'd rather let them deal with the stuff my siblings do. Let my siblings break stuff, ruin stuff, steal stuff, get into fights, sneak out, and eat things they're not supposed to. My parents hate it, but if I'm getting yelled at either way, I'm not helping. My parents can figure it out. They're realizing now that I'm not even trying to stop my siblings. And of course they yell at me more, and I'm punished frequently for the things my siblings do. But if that's going to happen anyway, I don't see a problem. Am I the a-hole for letting it happen and for not caring about the trouble my siblings are in? Not the a-hole at all. Your parents chose to have 4 children. You didn't. You are not responsible for their failure to raise their own kids. Your whole life will look like this unless you make an escape plan. I'm trying to be in a good place to move out when high school ends. My grades are pretty strong, which gives me some hope I'll have options. If your parents will let you get a job, save every dime you make and make sure it's in a bank account they cannot touch. Keep your grades up and apply for every college scholarship and grant you can. You'll get more no's than yeses, but it will add up over time. Not the a-hole. You're being parentified. You are not responsible for looking after your siblings or teaching them how to behave. That's your parents' job. If they're going to punish you for their behavior, then the only thing you can do is refuse to put yourself in situations where you're responsible for them. My parents can be right there, and I will still get in trouble. I don't even need to be in the house or the room for the blame to get put on me. There's nothing I can do to avoid it. Makes you wonder if the responsibility will pass to the next oldest when OP escapes. It might, but they haven't raised my sister to be responsible, so I don't know how that will go. Of all my siblings, me and her have the worst relationship too, and she does tough because she knows I'll be punished for her actions.